All right, guys, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me for training this morning. I think this is one that it's extremely important. Buyers are such an important game right now and knowing how to do those really, really well. So I wanted to make sure that we just did kind of a training that covered some of the basics like boxes and lock boxes, those kinds of things, just for anybody that is new and hasn't encountered how to open those. So I'll do my best to try to work out a way to show you that app and kind of how and give you kind of a general, this is how it works. The other thing I wanted to talk about was scheduling your showings and talking about a system and process for how to stay organized when you're going out on those appointments so that you have the correct time that you're supposed to be, that you're approved to be there, and access and that stuff kind of at your fingertips, and just a system that worked really well for me. It's very basic. You guys get to design your own. And then finally, for the third kind of portion of this training, I really want to go over how it is or how you should be presenting yourself, or kind of what to really do in a showing, guys. It's one of those things where it's fun to look at houses, and then when you become the expert, you've got clients that are counting on you to make them comfortable, counting on you to help them explore property. I want to walk through a little bit of how best to do that and serve your clients. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go through, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask those then. I am recording this. If you'd like to refer back to it again later, by all means, you are welcome to. So let's start with accessing the property and lockboxes. So there are a couple different ways to get into a property. More than likely, it's going to be on an iBox, which is these blue boxes. Supra is the company that runs those. And once you get your MLS access, then they should have sent you information for getting your Supra e-key activated. It is an app on your cell phone that you use to open up the iBoxes. So let's stick on iBoxes, and then we can chat about a couple different options. When you are going to use the e-key to open the app to open it, a couple tips and some things that have happened in the past where I'm like, why is this not working? Why, like it's not working. Why is it not working? So a couple troubleshooting tips, guys. When you come up to the blue box that's at the listing, you're going to want to push up on the bottom, the black piece on the bottom, and you'll hear it click. At that point, it should start blinking red to show that it's ready to do Bluetooth with your phone. You then want to open up the app on your phone, and here at the bottom, you're going to see access key. And as a buyer's agent, you're going to go ahead and click that access or obtain key button at the bottom, and you're going to enter the code that they gave you. It should be a 4-digit PIN, and then it's going to say thinking about it. So at the top of the screen, it's going to, and I don't know if it'll be telling opening lock key box, and it'll give you a success. And then at that point, you can take that blue key box, you're going to push up again, and it should drop out just like that. Note, guys, these things can get jammed. If you're a listing agent, I highly recommend only putting the key in there. Some people get really cute, try to put little keychains in there, and then they get jammed where you can't get it to come out because that keychain gets jammed. So when you're a listing agent, only put the key in there. But note, it can get jammed. In that case, there is a little black tab on the bottom of it that you can kind of use to yank down really hard on it. And I would just suggest pushing it back up, restarting and opening it again and trying it again. And then just being really ready with that black tab to shove it up and then to pull it down as hard as you can. Other suggestions I have with these lovely iBoxes when they're jammed. I have not been opposed to beating them against the concrete step to try to loosen it up when it's jammed. So note, I'm not telling you to abuse the lockboxes, but sometimes you got to get a little physical. So once you're done, you're going to go ahead and then take the key, put it back in, and then insert it back into the top. You'll click, and then it's secured again. Troubleshooting with these things. So there's been times that I'm going, why is it not working? Why is it not working? If I pushed it up and the red button is blinking here, you've got to make sure too, there's another time when you're going to maybe be a little flustered if it's your first time out, or if you've got some clients that are a little bit of a lot, just take a deep breath and then think, is my Bluetooth on? So there's been times in the past where my Bluetooth hasn't been on, and that's why it's not working for me. So that's another troubleshooting piece there to consider. Other is there are time sensitive, you can make settings as a listing agent to make it to where people can only access the key in this lockbox within certain hours. So if you were ever going to try to go show a house at 7 in the morning, which I know some of you guys are like, wait, who does that? That's crazy. Been there, right? Work schedules for people, we were making it happen. Note that a lot of times I think the default is for them to only open between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And yet that is a customizable feature on the iBox for each listing that a listing agent can set up. So if you do have an early morning showing, or if you're showing someone late at night, you may want to verify that you'll be able to have access through the iBox during off hours. Okay. Any other questions when it comes to being a buyer's agent with iBoxes? The other thing is you're going to see a lot of times these will be sitting on the ground next to the door, or it might be on the railing. It might be hanging on the front door. So sometimes it's a little bit of a game of where to find it. A lot of times people will put it on the ground because then it makes it easier to pick it up and take it to another house and such. We can save how to do that shackle code because that's more of a listing thing for another day. And then when you show a condo, note that there are going to be multiple iBoxes or key combo boxes at like the gate, at the opening gate. And so don't get flustered. And I would highly suggest like previewing ahead of time and figuring out where they are, because finding the iBoxes on condos is a really fun game sometimes. But that's the iBox. And you'll know, guys, that it's an iBox or that it's a combo box. I can show you here in the MLS. And the place that it's going to show you is when you sign into the listing here, you'll click on it. And can everybody see this okay? Can anybody give me, say yes? All right, or a thumbs up on the little icon on the bottom if we don't want to. Okay, I think someone did say yes. Thank you, Oksana. Thank you, Elena. Okay. The way that you're going to tell how you're going to access the property is here in the listing in the MLS, you'll scroll down and this show feature here will typically tell you it's an iBox. So that's one place that you can find out how to access it, or it'll say a combo there. It doesn't have to tell you how it is there, but a lot of agents will do that for simplicity so that you know. So that's a good place to check. It'll be in your showing instructions from showing time exactly how to access it. If it's an iBox, if it's a combo, but sometimes this was always helpful to see that like, oh, okay, that one's a combo. Do I need the combo before I go, kind of a thing? And we'll talk about that more. Okay, let me talk a little briefly about our combo boxes. So I have a slew of these. Note that the combo boxes are something you can purchase. So these are leased by leasing agents or listing agents each year from the KCRER. Combo boxes are like $30 at Home Depot, Lowe's. You can order on Amazon. They come and they look very different. Some of them are going to be like that old school locker, middle school locker combination. And so note that I feel like we need to get one and have it in the office here so that you guys can have a wall and just practice with it. Because that one was one that always, like, I'm back in middle school remembering, okay, go all the way around and then pass it and then back. So note that you will sometimes run into those. And then also sometimes it's just a 4-digit code that you enter and drop it down. The only thing about combo boxes is that it doesn't track who's coming and going. And that would be the only other thing to say about this. Do not be offended if you get to your showing and someone's already showing the property and they have the key. And then when they come and exit the property and you think, okay, it's our turn to go in. Do not be offended if they say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and lock the door and then I'm going to put it back in the iBox because I want to make sure that it's capturing that I returned the key and that then you got the key out, just for record purposes. So don't think poorly of them. That is just where some people prefer to make sure that this is tracking everybody that's coming and going. All right. So let me know if you've got any specific questions on combos. Again, that's where showing time and your showing instructions are going to tell you what that either 4-digit code is, or some of them are letters. I really think we should just like take pictures and share them with each other of the things we come across when it comes to those combo boxes. All right, guys, so let's talk now. Let's move from how to actually use the iBox. And I have these in the office. If you guys want to come in, and it's in my cabinet outside my office. Kendall's happy and more than happy to pull it out. If you want to come in and practice till your heart's content, so that you don't feel flustered when you're out there showing a client in real time, come in and practice with the iBox. It's super simple. And yet if it can boost your confidence when you get ready to go show, let's do that. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about systems and processes when it comes to setting up your showings. What I would recommend to you is that you come up with something that makes you comfortable. I think all of you that have been working with me for a little bit here in the office understand and have heard I am a paper person. 100% liked having my paper because it was easy for me to refer to for both my showing instructions and for the information on the property. So if you're a paper person, you figure out the papers you need to have in place to feel confident and comfortable that you're able to deliver the information to the client in a timely fashion. If you are an electronic person, then hey, have your iPad, have your phone, whatever you need to have, but so that you can answer questions quickly and resourcefully. What ended up working well for me is that I had my one-page printout for each property I was showing. And then I also had a map with my showing instructions on it. And I put the one-piece papers in order of the houses that we were going to. I made a copy for my clients, so they had a one-piece page for each of those two. And then I also carried my iPad. And the reason I carried my iPad with me is I had that one-page print, like gave me beds, baths, like what the garage situation was, kind of those kinds of things. The taxes are on there, right? And then I had my iPad so that when we were walking through, if they liked the property, we could pull up the seller's disclosure, or I could tell them how old the roof was on the fly, or I could tell them how, how old the AC and water here, have they had any water in the basement? I could scroll through quickly on that seller's disclosure on my iPad and answer those questions real time for them. It kept me from having to print out all the seller's disclosures. And the times that sometimes I could send those out ahead of time to the client, but a lot of times I did that on the fly while showing. The other things like there is you can tell property history. So sometimes somebody will say, when did they buy it? Or how much did they pay for it 3 years ago when they bought it? And I could use that iPad to quickly pull up Matrix and look at the information there. I kept all of the houses that I was showing in a cart, which we'll talk about in a second. But that was kind of the things that I brought with me. And I'm going to walk through what that showing schedule piece looks like. And I'll show you what that one-page printout looks like. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how and what I spoke to on that one-page printout when I got to the front door with buyers in just a sec. Okay. So let's go back to, this is an interesting angle, guys. Let's go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so this is some instructions I came up with on how I set up my showings. So basically, everybody see this okay? I would go in and I would gather all of the comps in a cart. And so I'm going to go through this and then I'll go through and do it live for you to show a little bit as well. But I'd gather all the comps in a cart. So I'd put all of the properties I was showing today together in one place in an MLS cart. And then I would select them all. And then I would click here on directions. Now you can also do directions within showing time after you've added all of the properties to the showing time cart to schedule. I just always preferred to do it here. So then I would click on directions and it would bring up this map. In this map, I was able to, it would put it all kind of in an order already. I was able to look at that and say, oh, for my clients on this one, because we're kind of looking all over town, because in this market, they just want a house. Let's start, they're coming from work. And so if he's coming from work and he works downtown, this has me starting all the way out in Shawnee, even though we have a house that's in the like Mission area. Let me reverse the order of things. And so I could use these arrows to reorder them so that we were starting at the property closest to his work so that it was, he could get there quicker and he wasn't having to drive extra. Does that make sense? So I would highly suggest that when you're setting up what order, and this may seem very elementary, but I think that there's sometimes it's not good to just assume, Be sure to think about where your clients are coming from and go ahead and reorder them in a order in which makes the most, if you can, in a sense that makes the most sense for them, like driving wise. And guys, don't be afraid to ask your clients those questions too, especially if you're covering a lot of square footage on a Saturday. Okay, cool. Like, is it okay if we go ahead and get started out by where you guys are now? And then would it be best to end if we end in Olathe, kind of a thing? They'll appreciate that. That's or the other thing I would encourage you is don't ask them. So I know I'm telling you one thing, and then I'm telling you the exact opposite. So I also encourage you to not ask them and do what works best for your schedule, especially if you're showing multiple buyers or you've got a listing appointment on Saturday at 1 o'clock in Prairie Village. Schedule your showings for said client so that you're ending your day as close as possible to that listing appointment in Prairie Village. Take the time, control your schedule, control your business, and say, okay, we're not going to start at the one in Prairie Village. We are going to start down in Olathe, and we're going to work our way back up so that we're in Prairie Village at the end of the day. So that if I'm short on time, I'm as close as I possibly can be to that listing appointment, kind of a thing. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, once you've drugged them around and kind of got them in the order in which you want them to be in, you then have the ability to hit directions again, and it's going to create those driving directions for you. And then I always just hit print. And at this point, it would come up looking a little bit like this. So this is where, if you print from the MLS, the map, it should give you the driving directions. The reason I liked this as well, guys, is in between the properties, it would tell me what my drive time is. So between property number 2 and property number 3, it was 6 minutes. Between property 3 and 4, 5 minutes. Between property, 4 and 5, 4 minutes. Okay, so you guys are like, okay, great, Elizabeth, it's all like 5 minutes. What's the big deal here? Well, you do have people that are looking all over town, or sometimes it's 15 minutes between properties. And so that was really helpful in a part of my process in trying to figure out what time I needed to schedule each one for, was to have kind of that estimate on what that drive time was. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit more about what each of these little things are, and then I'm going to talk about the timing and how you're spreading out your showings timing wise. So this first section here, so the 11:15 to 12:15 is the window of time in which I was approved for my showing. I know it seems crazy, guys, but back in the day, they used to give you an hour to show a property. I know, it's crazy. And yet, so that was the approved, that top part, 11:15 to 12:15 is what I had been approved through showing time to show the property. In underneath it, in parentheses there, or no, that's not the right, underneath the 11:20 time there is my estimate of when I'm going to arrive there. So this is the second property I was showing that day. So I assumed that I would probably be there about 11:20. And we'll talk again about timing here in just a second and how I estimated why I was thinking 11:20. But that gave me a good idea. Okay, 11:20 is going to fit between my 11:15 and 12:15 and gives me a little wiggle room on both sides. AR, so on the right here, it says AR, and you'll see as you scroll down here, there's a C for courtesy and a go for go. What that is AR stands for appointment required. So when you set up a showing, there's different ways it can be set up. You've got the ability to have a go and show, where you're already approved, you've got access information, go as you please. We used to have courtesy, which was a little more common. It isn't so much these days, but courtesy means that they are going to let the sellers know, but you're still good to go. But there are sellers that they're notifying that you're going to go. So it's a little different than go and show. Go and show typically is a vacant property. And then finally, AR, so appointment required. And what appointment required means is showing time has to speak with the sellers and confirm with them that my time of 11:15 to 12:15 is okay with them before they're going to release to me showing instructions. And again, when you're setting up 5 to 6 showings, and some of them are appointment required and some of them are courtesy and some of them are go and show, it was hard for me to always keep captured who I had gotten approval from and what my showing instructions were. And so this was a simple way for me to capture. This was an appointment required. And so when I scheduled it, I would have AR there and there would be no access information. It wouldn't be until it got confirmed. And then I could come back and update that this one was confirmed. And that's why there's a check. and it was iBox access. As you can see here for stop number 3, it says appointment required, and it's not been confirmed yet because there's no access information there. Again, I know this sounds silly, but you all are going to be busy, yes, because you're going to sell a lot of houses. And there's going to be a time that you're going to be going from one appointment to another appointment, and you're going to show up and you're going to go, oh my gosh, did Overhill ever get approved? Like, I see that I don't have access information here. And it's a good mental, like, visual to say, let me check real quick to see if that actually did get approved. So it's kind of a way to make sure that your stuff is been approved and you've got all your access information. Does that make sense? I'm going to take a breather for just a second. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Courtesy, they are going to give you that showing instruction right away. So here's that combo C6771 to access that one. And again, that is where I know that it's an iBox. The only other thing that I don't have showing on here, guys, is there may be a time in which you would have alarm information. And I would highly suggest that the alarm information goes here underneath iBox or what the combo might be. And again, this is where this is one of the pieces of paper I had was my map with all the access information and appointment times. And then I had the 1-page printout for all of the properties in my, in my other packet that I'm carrying around. And I would often refer back to this as we're going through properties, because if we're at the second property and they're taking their sweet time because they love it, I can quickly look down and say, oh, we really need to be at stop number 3 by like 12:30. So if we are just hanging out, like they were late, they took a lot of time walking through the property, and my schedule had gotten off, it's easy for me to quickly look down and go, okay, we're running a little late. It's going to be closer to noon that we get to Overhill, but that's okay because I'm approved through 12:30 and I'm going to stay within my window. Does that make sense? Also, those little times that are in the brackets, it was also a good way for me to say, okay, I thought I was going to be at Overhill at 11:40, but they showed up late and they're taking their sweet time. So we're a little behind schedule. They like this house, so I'm going to let them marinate here because I think that they might actually make an offer on it. But when we get to Overhill, if they don't like Overhill, I'm looking down and going, we should have been here at 11:40 and it's noon. We're 20 minutes behind schedule. Y'all don't like this house? Let's move. So I had an easy way to see where am I on my schedule time-wise to make sure that we can do our best to stay within our time frame for our appointments. And then also my schedule, because I would have other appointments to get to as well. So I would be able to kind of use that as a gauge of like, we need to speed up, or, whoa, we need to slow down because like they are flying through these houses and I have, so that kind of was my way to see what I'm approved for and see what I was planning for. Does that make sense? So the top number approved and then planning. Again, silly, but I lived by this for 10 years when I was selling, and it was so very, very helpful. And it calmed my nerves a lot when people were late or they wanted to add another property or something got canceled. So that's the other thing, that there'll be times right now too that you might schedule something for Saturday and it goes under contract. And now number 3 is off the table. You can't go look at it. It was really easy if I had it laid out like this for me to go in and quickly make adjustments to it. The other thing, guys, you develop a system that works for you for your showing time and your showing schedule and your access information. But come up with a system and a process and then just do it that way every single time. It's going to relieve your stress and give you the ability to be more confident and comfortable as you're showing. It's also going to be a system and a process that you can build on. So when you hire your admin, or if you do have an admin right now, it's something that my admin scheduled all of my buyer appointments for me. And I would say just about from the get-go, it was really easy for me to train every admin I had on how to schedule these for me, because it was like, this is the process. This is my expectation of what I have when I'm not showing. She could print it off and have it all ready to go. And I knew what my showing instructions were. But because I had a system and a process in place that I could easily explain to someone else, it was very easy to leverage that out as my business grew. All right, guys. Excellent. I'm going to go back to the MLS unless anyone has any questions. Are you guys doing good? Is everybody awake? I love Monday mornings. Okay. Share screen. Let's go back to the MLS. So let's talk a little bit about how I get to this point. I told you guys that I would go back and show you. So we're going to go through and select what properties it is we want to show. You can select these in a couple different ways. You can search for each of them directly if you'd like, or if they all show up in one search. So go through and let's say that they didn't want to see this third one. But here are the 3 properties that these buyers want to see. You can select them, and then you're going to come down here to the bottom. And at the bottom, I would suggest starting a cart for that buyer. And so you can say, click on carts. And then you can say new cart if it's a new client. If it's a cart you already have, you've got the ability to come in here and select their cart. But let's start a new client cart. So the client name is going to be Smith Showings. You can also attach your client's name to that cart if you would like, and click save. When you do that, if you're creating a new cart, guys, it's going to automatically add those 3 properties to the cart. So see how it says, and this would be your client's name and then Smith Showings 3. It's already got 3 in it. Now, let's say that we're like, ooh, they just called me and they actually want to also view this other property. I can then go and select additional properties, whether it's creating a whole new search or whatever, and carts are a whole nother day and a whole nother training, guys. If you haven't seen my carts training, like check it out, they're amazing. But you can go add additional ones by just selecting any additional properties and then making sure that in this drop-down window, you have the cart for that client selected, click add to. And at the top here, it's going to show you it. 1 property was added, 3 were already there. So it's letting me know that it added that other one that we just added. And then when I'm ready to go schedule my appointments, I often will then make sure that again, in that drop-down window, the cart is selected for the client that I'm showing. And then I click view, and it's going to open up that cart for that client with the 4 listings I want to show them. At this point, I'm going to come up and I'm going to select all, and I'm going to come back to my actions. Here, I'm going to click directions. And again, that map comes up. I'm gonna have to zoom out just a little bit. And they've got us starting all the way over here by Platte Woods. And if I wanted to change it and move them up and down, I can move them up and down. And then hit directions again. Often you can adjust if you want to zoom in. I would suggest you can make it kind of where it's zoomed in, and I did play with that from time to time. Some people have asked me in the past, do I give my clients the map with those showing time windows in it and such? I sometimes would. A lot of times I didn't. I would just have them follow me. It really kind of depended on the client. And I'll tell you the times that it was really important to hand them a map. Those people that are not super respectful of the schedule and are the ones that are consistently showing up late, or they take their sweet time walking through every property. And last time we went out and showed, all of the appointment times got kind of thrown off because they were wanting to kind of just dilly-daddle through, and they stopped and got, a soda, quick trip in between appointments. Those are the people that I gave a map to with the showing windows in. I did not obviously have access information on that map, right? I made a different one without access information, but I did put the showing time windows. And the reason I would do that is so that it was very clear to them that this is the time in which we have to get into that house. And sometimes it helped send home a message of, hey, time, schedule is important and we need to be respectful of it, without having to say schedule is important and we need to be respectful of it. But okay, so you move around your stuff and then you just have that, like we've talked about before, you click print. And then at this point, I honestly would just either print it to PDF and make my adjustments there, or print it out and handwrite on it. So that's how I got my map for those showing times. Only thing to note here, guys, and new construction's horrible about it. Sometimes if the pin that they have set up in MLS is not accurate, meaning the location pin, then your map will be off. So just FYI, if that happens. It doesn't happen a lot, and the place to be most cautious of it is new construction. Okay, so that's how we got that map that I talked about, how to do the scheduling of the times. And then where I would go get my 1-page printout is, again, I would have all of them selected here in the cart. And then I would just go down to print. And then I would select full agent full. And then I would say print to PDF. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. Let's see. I think I'm going to have to reshare once it gets printed. Yes, here we go. I am such a whiz with this computer stuff. All right, so then this is the one I personally preferred when you go, and I hope you guys could see there when I was selecting what one you could print. MLS has multiple different reports you can print. I would say find the one that you like best. If it's the one-page print, if it's the agent full, find whichever one you like, and then consistently just use that one so that you've got all the information at your fingertips. So this is the one I enjoyed using. Reason being is it was easy for me to see county at the top here, list price. I always enjoyed having that at my fingertips. Obviously neighborhood was here, beds, baths, full, half. And then combined days on market and days on market were right next to each other. You've got your square footage here. I liked that. We've got our floor plan if I needed that. The garage is our information is here. Your basement information is here on the right. That was something that I pulled a lot. And then down below, you've got your showing information. So we talked about this before. It's on an iBox. It was listed on the 24th, and let me know if I'm going too fast. It was listed on the 24th of February. That was a quick, easy date because you will have clients that say, how long has this been on the market? And I can quickly say 82 days. And then they, oh my gosh, what's going on with that? Last year at this time, it was really helpful to say, oh, look, they put it on the 24th of February, and then obviously COVID happened or something of that sort, right? Or, oh, it looks like they put it on just before Thanksgiving. Maybe that's why it didn't get a whole lot of activity, kind of a thing. Possession is here. So possession is telling you they can give possession at funding. Sometimes it'll say immediate, kind of a thing. I've got the information for contacting the listing agent if I had questions. The other piece that's really helpful here, and this is somewhere that you need to go look every single time, guys, buyer agency or the commission amount. So you want to make sure that this is reflecting 3%. Sometimes it'll say something different, 2.5, $1,000, that kind of a thing, but that's where you're seeing your commission. And the way MLS KCRER works is if it's advertised as 2.5, so 2.5% instead of 3%, and you write an offer on that property, you're accepting, and you don't mention the commission at all, you're accepting 2.5% commission because that's what it's been marketed as. Does that make sense? So that's a really key place to take a look at when you're showing, just so that you know, not that you're going to steer your client elsewhere, but you do need to have a conversation with them if the seller isn't paying the full 3%. You also see here commission based on, so CBO stands for commission based on gross sales price. And that just means if the offer is $300,000, back in the day, they used to pay closing costs. And if they would have paid $5,000 in closing costs, your commission would have been based on the net of that. So this isn't as common anymore to where it wouldn't be a big deal, but that's what gross and net means right there. All right, other information you've got, obviously your heating, water, and cooling in this section down here, sewer, that kind of stuff. There is an excluded field here, and sometimes people will put on here roof or something of that sort. Cease disclosure, that's a helpful thing. And then at the bottom, this is an important one, and this is an important one for you to look at when someone says, oh my gosh, Elizabeth, I really need to go see this house at 1 o'clock on Saturday. I mean, it's just gonna be the one. And they are a FHA buyer that needs, it doesn't have any cash to make repairs. Note that you really want to make sure that you're going and checking out this will sell for, because sometimes, guys, this is how the listing agent is representing that the property can sell. And as an FHA buyer or VA buyer, the condition of the home needs to be a certain level in order for that loan to get approved. Some people will have on here cash, conventional. Sometimes it'll just say cash if it is that foreclosure property. And the reason is a loan won't get approved on it because there's no plumbing, or because there's a hole in the roof, you know, and then there's no way an FHA loan's going to get approved. It should say here, cash. There probably will be remarks up above, but that was a good way sometimes to be like, sister, we are not running out and looking at that one on Saturday because you're an FHA buyer and this says it's cash or conventional. You can always call and get more information from the listing agent, but that's a good place to go and check. Here's your HOA information, your taxes, and then here on the right, guys, it says deposit, security first. And the reason it says deposit security first is that's who your earnest deposit is made out to. So your earnest check would go to security first title. And so when you're writing your offer, that's a fill in the blank question on your offer paperwork. And that's where you go get the answer for that. Last here at the bottom, we've got previous list price and original list price. And you're probably going like, what the heck? What is that? It's kind of like, sounds like the same thing. So original list price is going to be for the time, this time that it was in the MLS. So note this one up here had 82 days. So it had been in the market MLS previously is what I think it's saying. So when this time when it listed, if there's a time that a property has been listed more than once, I'm not doing a great job of explaining that, then it's this time. It started at 450,000 and now it's at 389. Okay, previous list price was the last time it was in the MLS. If that was within 90 days of it getting listed this time, it would have that previous list price in MLS. Does that make sense? And the reason this is fun is you're going to be showing this property and more than likely the buyer is going to go, well, what's wrong with it? It's been on the market 82 days, Elizabeth, and everything else is sold in like a heartbeat. Well, I've got a lot of clues here that can help maybe piece that together. And one of the first places I would look is, oh, it's listed at 389 now. First place I'm going to scroll quickly, and this is why it was helpful for it to be printed out and in my hands, is to go, okay, it's listed at 389, and look, they started at 450. So guys, I mean, this is not a 450 house, right? So they started too high. And that's probably why it's been on 82 days, or you know, a factor in why it's been on 82 days. So that was one place, is to see if there'd been a price reduction and maybe how much of a price reduction on it. These are just additional, like last time it was modified. So the last time the listing agent updated it, and then the entry date of when it was entered. This mod date, guys, was again, sometimes a little bit of a clue. If there was recently a price reduction, I might go, okay, it looks like they dropped the price on Friday. Like it may also be that they just went in and updated something else on the listing, but that was kind of one of the things I played off of. All right, when it comes to your MLS sheet, so again, I had them all selected, and then in the MLS, and then I would go in and create that. Hope you guys can still see. So I'd have them all selected and I would just go in and print them here. I'd print them all out, and then I would manually reorder them in the same order that I was showing the properties in. That way I have my map. I would be, okay, we're done with this house, locking the door, going to the next house. And I could easily say, oh, okay, I'm just turning my page of all my full printouts. All right, I'm going to pause. Does anyone have any questions? All right. The other thing nice about putting them in a cart, guys, is remember how I mentioned having my iPad with me. I would sign into that iPad at the first property when I was waiting for my clients to arrive, or if we're honest, while I was at stoplights driving frantically to my showing appointment. I would sign into MLS. I would pull up this cart, and that way I was ready and prepared when we got to that first house to be able to pull up the information on and just click on the MLS for it. And then I had on my iPad, I had all of this pulled up to where I could say, okay, here, let me show you what the direction, you know, what the seller's disclosure is. Yep, the roof is 3 years old, kind of a thing. And I had it all kind of on at my fingertips. And the next house, I could just click through, and I already had all 4 properties at my fingertips. I wasn't trying to look them up on the fly. I think we've talked about scheduling showings before. So if you have this set up too, where they're all 4 in a cart, you can simply come in, click schedule a showing. It will automatically sign you into showing time. I'll try to zoom in for you guys. Here you can either click that single showing, but we're going to say add to showing cart. And we're going to say that we wanted to show it today. Okay. And then here you can click, oh wait, this stuff is in the way, guys. Return to listings here at the bottom. And it's going to take you back to MLS. Okay. So when I clicked it, it took me to showing time to add that one to my showing card of what I want to show. And then I'm back here in the MLS. I can then just click next to the next property in the cart. Click that schedule of showing again. It's going to bring me here. I'm going to say add to showing cart. And then return to listings again. And I'm back here in the MLS, and I can add all 4 of them to the showing cart. Sound good? For simplicity, I'm going to just go ahead and schedule these, work through scheduling these 3. So this is where you are able to then go in and add stops. If you want to add stops, you also have the ability to pick a time in which you want to show. So you're going to do your start time and then your end time. If there's ever a time, so like it won't let me schedule more. This one has a 2-hour window, which is awesome. Here you might have a restriction where they're only going to give you a half hour. So when I go in to select, no, all of them do, good. You can kind of, but that's where I would pull out that map again, because I've already mapped it out. So then I could easily quickly say, okay, this one's 11:15 to 12:15. This one's 11:30 to 12:30, kind of a thing. And then you can go ahead and send your request from there. Any questions on showing time? All right, I am probably not your best resource for showing time. Reason being, they upgraded to showing time after I stopped showing. So I have not spent a ton of time in there. If you've got showing time requests, please utilize our coaches. They'd be happy to help you. And then we've also got tons of agents in the office that would be happy to walk you through that. All right, so I did promise earlier, guys, that I would kind of talk a little bit about how I decided the different times for those different windows when I was trying man, guys, I'm tongue-tied today. Okay, the way that I kind of determined how long in each property. If I knew the people and I'd been out before, I could get a good gauge for them. Otherwise, I would suggest giving about 15 to 20 minutes per property. And so if you're meeting your client, like for example, on that first one, if we are meeting them at 11 o'clock, and I was going to try to bring that back up, but I think I had closed. Here we go. If we're going to say, okay, we're going to meet at noon, I would then make that first appointment for noon. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay. And then I would give about 20 minutes. So I would usually do the ones in the brackets first and say 11:20, 11:40, noon, see how they're all kind of 20 minutes apart. The only time I would change that is because that included drive time and getting in and out of the car time. And if you've got multiple kids that they have with them, that they're buckling into car seats and such, you need to take those things into consideration because it does take them time to get in and out of those cars. And then also if there is a 11-minute drive time between properties, then I would change that bracket from the third one wouldn't be 11:20 and then 11:40. I probably would say, how about 11:20 and then 11:50? And I'd give myself 10 more minutes because of that extra drive time, if that makes sense. With my brackets on each side, so with the actual window time, you'll see here that I have 11:15 to 12:15 for that 11:20 appointment. I tried to keep the estimated when I'm going to be in there. I would do that part first, and then I would build the window of the appointment around it. So if I can, I know this market is crazy, guys, and you kind of get what you get, you don't throw a fit, but that would be kind of how I would work my way back. So I had a little wiggle room on both sides of them. And then let's talk a little bit about showing. We've got 12 more minutes and I want to be respectful of your time. And so we talked a little bit how I had my 2 packets, my map, my instructions, and then the information on the property, and then my iPad. And I often would wear clothing that I could put my car keys in my pockets, and then would just keep my stuff in the car. So I didn't have a whole lot else. I also had purses that I purposely, and I know guys, men, you're saying, okay, is it time for the fanny pack? Is it time for the man purse? It might be. So I also had a lot of times, if it wasn't wintertime and I didn't have a coat that I could carry things in, I was very thoughtful on what kind of purse I had. And if you think about other buyer's agents out there, I can tell you they all think about that too, so that they had their pen or their phone was safely secured in that purse. But having something that was small and easy to, hold things, but maneuver, like put thought into that, guys, because it makes it to where you're much more comfortable and you're not setting your purse down in the kitchen and then they're asking you a question. You're like, oh shoot, let me go get my phone and grab that, kind of a thing. All right, so you pull up for your showing and you're meeting your clients. First thing about showing, guys, is it is kind of common courtesy not to park in the driveway. And I would suggest that you lead by example for your clients. So it's common courtesy, because people's cars can leak oil or other things on a driveway, which is kind of the common courtesy. Also, a lot of us, and these are agents that are way more tenured than me, will say that it's better for you to park across the street or in front of the property so that the client gets the ability to walk up and see the home in whole, instead of if they're parked in their car and they're right up against the garage door, it doesn't get that same curb appeal feeling. So park in the street and model that for your clients. And then do know that, as I often would, if I'm meeting there, wait in the car maybe prior to them getting there. Sometimes I would go, and if it's vacant, and I would go ahead and go inside if they weren't there yet and get lights turned on and get a little bit comfortable with the property. If it is something that is occupied and you would rather just go up with them, while they're getting out of the car, feel free to scoot your little, self up to the door and get started on opening the lockbox and getting the front door unlocked. Because I will tell you, and all of you that have been out showing, 9 out of 10 times, you're there with your phone and you're going, okay, and you're trying to do this and they're going, how long has this one been on the market? How many bedrooms is this one? What's the price on this one? And you're like, again, this is where it was helpful to have that printed out piece of paper, because I knew those buyers. I learned really quick what kind of people were like that, to where then I'm opening the door and I get 389, 82 days on the market, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. And like with having it printed out and right here, it was super easy for me to give them all that information like this. It also were times where it'd be like, just give me 1 second, having a little trouble with this guy today. Give me 1 second. I could say that, but then I could quickly transition into it after opening the door. So obviously, like those that aren't kind of hammering you at the door, which there will be those buyers that are hammering you with all the questions right at the door. If not, opening the door, going ahead and entering the property. My normal routine was, as soon as I got the door open, I stepped in and said, okay, guys, so this one is listed at 389, been on the market for 82 days, or for, came on the market today. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. Laundry is down in the basement. And I kind of had, those were the things that the basics that I would kind of hit right with them right off the bat, especially if some of those things like laundry was important. Finished basement, and this one does have a finished basement. And then we would start walking through the property. But by doing that every time and that being the routine, my clients knew that every time they walked in the door, they didn't have to worry about looking at the sheet before they came in. They didn't have to take a step without knowing, okay, this one is a 4-bedroom. This one is a 3-bedroom. This one doesn't have a finished basement. They got used to that routine, and I think it gave them comfort and knowing that they're going to know how many days it was on the market, what the price was, what some of the specifics were. So I would keep that routine or come up with what your points that you're going to hit each time are. And again, you can customize that for every client, for those that maybe will want a little more details on different parts of the house. Okay, so from there, obviously your clients are going in and walking around. Note that when you're showing a house, they do want you to, it depends on them. Some of them are going to go and they're going to whip through the house and they don't need anything from you. I would watch your social cues and your body language. Many of them, especially if it's your first time out, or if it's their first time out looking at houses, or they haven't looked at houses in a while, people are kind of creeped out for some reason about snooping around someone else's house when they're not home. And y'all are going to get real good at it, because as a buyer's agent, you don't really have a choice. You have to snoop around people's houses. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about, where it does feel kind of weird that like people aren't home and I'm like looking at all their stuff, right? One quick and easy way to get your clients more comfortable with that, especially if you're getting the sense that they're uncomfortable, is when you get in the kitchen, whip open that drawer. Oh, look at that. That slide's real nice. Yeah, that looks good. Pull open the cabinets, right? And I know we're in COVID times, and yet, so it's a little more sensitive, but the reason I'm making that and saying that in a dramatic fashion is you doing that, they might go, oh my God. And I would always respond with, no, these kitchen cabinets are staying with the house. You're buying this drawer. Look, it's sliding, or man, it's not really sliding that, but kind of a thing. You're getting them comfortable with the fact that yes, they are buying those kitchen cabinets or that vanity in the bathroom, or that coat closet. It would be good to know what it looks like inside of it. And in COVID times, maybe you are touching things more. I know we're right on the edge of this, but that will go really, really far to get your clients to calm down and realize it's okay to snoop around people's houses. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. And I think it's important too for you. That's a great way to show value, especially if you are new or not new, but that's a great way to kind of do connection. A lot of times kitchen, I just use that kitchen to really connect with people and also look at things that they might not be thinking about. So I'm bending down in the kitchen. Oh yeah, look, it's got under cabinet lighting, especially if they weren't all lit up, right? I'm opening that pantry door and I'm saying, oh guys, you guys, I love that this one's got a pantry. Look, pull out shelves. This is amazing, right? And I'm saying those different things, or, oh wow, look at gas stove. That's big. I really, oh wow, gas is so much nicer to cook on. You guys like cooking on gas? And I'm having those conversations as I'm walking through the property with them and pointing out things like that, that as a new buyer or someone that might be not thinking about those little things, I'm pointing those out. When you're standing in a kitchen or a living room that looks directly out onto the backyard, if they had small children, I often would say, you know what, this isn't a walkout basement, but I do really like that, like, the kids could be out there playing and you could be standing here at the kitchen sink, making dinner or washing dishes, and you would have full view of them because you are walking directly out to your backyard. Or you're talking about how this one has a fence and the last one didn't, but they are looking for you to give them some of that engagement most of the time, and not just stand quietly in a house and walk through and go, okay, okay, I guess the master's this way. They want you to talk about those kinds of things of, oh, look, between these bedrooms, we've got, I like that the sound barriers are kind of between the closets for the kids' bedrooms. We've got some built in between. So be aware that they're looking at thinking about those things, or, oh, double sinks in the hall bathroom. That's great for the kids to share. Or this would be a cool home for roommates because you got one bedroom and a bath over here, and you got one bedroom and a bath over here. And then you've got another one in the base. Like, this would work out, this floor plan. I think that'd be good for roommates, that you're thinking through what their situation is and why a house may or may not work for them. Any questions there that anyone has? And when it comes to showing, read that body language, guys, and really don't be afraid to, I think that was one of the things that I enjoyed the most about selling, is to see when people would tense up, or when you can see a lot of times in people's body language when they're like definitely thinking about something, and to just say, are you thinking about like how you would put your desk over here and like use this as a workspace since you're working from home now? Let me talk through, like, I know it seems really, they have these dark curtains in here, but I think if you got white curtains, it would make it feel a lot brighter in here. And then you could place your desk here in the corner and your chair, and you still have plenty of room to work around it. And troubleshooting and problem solving in a house with them will go really far, especially if you have the ability to do that. That makes a big difference. Okay. Yay. Okay. And then I guess the other thing I would say when it comes to showing, and I think we're getting right close on time, is to watch the language between the couples too, and don't be afraid and don't be afraid to lean into that. I've had people before that are shopping as a couple, and one of them comes in the door and darts through every single room, and the other one's kind of like, he's not even waiting for me. Like, what the heck? And there'd be some times that I would speak up and be like, hey, George, like, why don't you stick, Kathy's still back here. Like, can you slow down? Can you slow your roll? And I give him a little trouble because he's not got any clue that she's upset that he's not waiting for her to go through all the rooms. Other times I'd laugh and be like, I think George is going to be at house number 3 before we even get to the 2nd floor, and play along through it. But don't be afraid to be that person in between, in that, you know, to help too, in a friendly, funny way of like, hey, slow down, George, or kind of a thing. Kids, that'd be the last thing too. I know we're in COVID times and I don't think kids are at showings as much as they used to be, but that may very well change in the near future. I babysat growing up. I do love children. I would highly encourage you that if you do have children that come to a showing and the parents are feeling a house, like, humble yourself. You can be a very good child care provider and door opener. And so that would be a time to maybe adjust what you're doing as that agent for that family, because it may not be that they need you to go open all the doors and talk to them about where they're going to put their office desk. They may need you to dance in the living room with their 2 little girls while they go and talk about whether or not that bedroom's big enough for the older girl when she's in middle school. Or they may be down in the basement talking about, like, is this one that would be worth going ahead and paying to refinish it ourselves? And I can tell you, I got really good at coming up with silly games to play with kids. And sometimes it was literally just me hopping around and playing hopscotch in a living room with somebody's kids, so that the parents could go do what they needed to do to be able to evaluate a home at a high level and come back and confidently make an offer with me. Also, I think people enjoyed that. Their kids really enjoyed it, made the process funner, but like, humble yourself and you can be a very, very good child care provider / agent. I don't know that I would give any tips on how to deal with parents, other than like, do your best to be respectful. And there's times where those parents or other non-decision makers get involved with their opinions. And I would just say to try to combat them with kindness and with data and such there. So, okay. Thank you so much, guys. Any other questions that can help answer? I hope this is helpful. Sometimes I feel like I'm making it too basic, and yet I think in a very systematic way. And sometimes I do a lot of things without even thinking about why I'm doing it. When I stop and think about it, there is totally a purpose. So guys, master this as well. If you can become really good showing agents and you want the ability to help teams in the office when they need help showing, this is a great way to say, hey, I'm not only going to just open the door for your people, but I'm going to knock it out of the park to where their clients are going to say, oh my gosh, Matt did such a great job. And you're going to be the first phone call when they need someone to go show 6 houses on a Saturday while they are tied up elsewhere. So appreciate you. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks.
You're very, very welcome. And I will give you the printout. I will upload a printout of like how to structure those showings, or I'll have Kendall send it out to you. So let me see too. I'm going to take a screenshot of who all was here. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Hi, Ronasia. Good to see you. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Hi. Nice to see you too.
Bye, guys. No team meeting tomorrow because it's ALC, just FYI.